Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Daniela. If you haven't been here before, I usually do studio vlogs for my small business, but recently I've got back into reading again, so I am now starting to do some videos about reading. As you can see behind me, my collection is starting to fill out a little bit now. Most of these are from charity shops. I picked them up really cheap, between 50p to £1, so that is why I have so many. So I'm going to go through the books that I want to read in November that are on my November TBR list. These are a few books that I have selected. I'm going to pick 4 books because I don't want to put too much pressure on myself. I know a lot of people have like huge TBR lists for each month, but I don't want to put pressure on myself to read. I seem to be averaging about 2 books a week at the moment, so I'm going to pick 4 books, and if I get to any more books than that, then that's great, but I'm just going to pick up whatever I feel like reading in between the 4 books that I have actually selected. My actual TBR list on Goodreads is it's like over 300, but we're just going to pick a few for this month. In terms of format, again, I don't want to put any pressure on myself, so some books might be physical books, some might be on the Kindle, and some might be audiobooks. So the first book on my TBR list for November is From Blood and Ash. I've actually already started listening to this on audiobook. This is a young adult fantasy romance. It has vampires in, but they have a different name in this book, and it follows a main character called Poppy, who is called the Maiden, and it's like leading up to a date when she is going to go through this ritual called an ascension, and it's not clear what happens when that happens, and there's no evidence of like the previous maidens of like what happened to them after they went through this ascension, so I haven't got far enough to find out what the hell that is yet, but so far she has met a guy and he is now a member of her royal guard and is in charge of taking care of her. And she's been doing some things that she shouldn't be doing. But yeah, it is a romance and it is a fantasy, and I'm enjoying it so far. It's a trilogy at the moment, I believe. I think there's a 4th book going out, but I've heard that that follows different characters. So I don't know if like the bit with her is like just a trilogy. Anyway, I'm listening to this on Scribd, so it's an audiobook. The first one is on Scribd. I got book 2 and 3 on Audible. So Scribd has quite a lot of audiobooks and also some ebooks on it, and it has a very good selection. So if you're into audiobooks, or if you want to get into reading but you don't really have the time to sit down and read a book, audiobooks are good if you want to be like multitasking, like cleaning and listening, or you know, listening while you're doing work, depending on what your work is. If you want a free trial of Scribd, you can get a 2-month free trial if you use my referral code down below. This is just the referral code that anyone can use when you're signed up to Scribd. So if you sign up to Scribd, you can give your friends your referral code and they'll get 2 months free also. So if you do want a 60-day free trial, you can use the link that I will leave in my description down below. The next book I want to make sure I read in November is Finale. That is the 3rd book in the Caraval series by Stephanie Garber. I've actually read book 1 and 2 in October, and I will be making a video about all the books I've been reading in September and October, so keep an eye out for that. But yeah, I've started book 3. I borrowed them from the library. Another good place to go get books. It's free if you sign up for your local library. You can borrow a good range of books and it doesn't cost you anything. So the first book follows 2 sisters and they go to an island and they take part in a game called Caraval, and it's magical and there's lots of different actors that are involved in the game, and sometimes you can't tell the difference between like what's real and what's not, and people can go mad during this game because they can't differentiate like reality from the magic. The first book was okay for me. It was interesting, it was enjoyable towards the end. It took me a little while to get into it. The second book I liked a lot more, just because I think, like, you know, like with a series you get used to the characters, and the first book's kind of building up your characters, isn't it? And then like the next book, I don't know, I always seem to enjoy book 2 of a series more than book 1, and I think it's because you have that build up on the way to the second book. But yeah, enjoyed the second book, couldn't wait to start the 3rd book, and I'll be finishing that this month. Again, that is another young adult fantasy, bit of romance in there. The next book I want to read is Guild, which is book 1 in the Plated Prisoner series. This again is fantasy and romance. Can you see a theme here? I believe it's a retelling of King Midas. I believe this one is described as a dark romance, so there might be some things in here that are not very nice to read. Not entirely sure yet, haven't read them. Obviously, do look up the triggers if you don't want to read certain things. I tend to not want to look up triggers because I don't like to know much about my books before I start reading them. I like to know like the bare minimum amount of information that I need to know to make me interested in reading a book, and that's all I want to know. So I'm excited to read this. I don't really know much about it other than it is a dark romance and it is a King Midas retelling. Guild is available on Kindle Unlimited, so if you have Kindle Unlimited or you get a free trial of Kindle Unlimited, then you can read, I think book 1, 2 and 3 are on there. There is a 4th book coming out, but it's not out yet. So yeah, I will be reading that on the Kindle. And then the next book is The Bone Witch by Rin Chupeco. So this book is a dark fantasy. It's young adult again. This book starts with a young girl who accidentally brings her brother back from the dead. So she's the necromancer, and again it's a fantasy, so there are dark creatures, and she is going to go and train and learn how to use her magic and help fight these dark creatures. I have this in physical format, and I have a free trial of Audible at the moment, and the audiobook's on there, so I'm not sure whether I'm going to listen to this or read it. It is a trilogy. There are 3 books and those are also on Audible, but I'm on a time limit because Audible's going to run out in a few days time, so if I want to read this I'd have to like listen to the audiobooks very quickly. But yeah, that is all of the books I want to read in November. Hopefully I'll get a chance to read more than that. Maybe something that's not a fantasy romance would be good. Slot something in between there that's a little bit different. Let me know what you guys are reading this month and what you've been enjoying recently. If you have any recommendations for me based on the books I am reading this month, please leave them in the comments. Not that my list needs to get any longer, but oh well. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. That's all for now, guys. I will see you next time.